I was watching airplane things, on the plane. And Superman, I grew up when Superman was the man. I mean, he still is, right? He's still Superman. Depends on which Superman, though. I do quite like Henry Cavill. Christopher Reeve. Yes, the OG. Yeah. And how powerful the difference he made to a group of us that grew up in the 80s that needed a hero. And he stepped into the role of being this hero in movies at a time when movies were the social glue, the thing that common ground that we all sat down and watched and talked about at work and at school and in teams and admired the values and the qualities. And the most crazy thing happened to him. He made a documentary, and in this documentary he described how he was doing a movie just before he became a quadriplegic. And in that movie he played a paralyzed returned services person, so somebody that served in the army, and he was playing the role of somebody that was paralyzed. And he said, I was taught all of these things, how to, roll over, how to get in the chair as if I was paralyzed. He said, and I didn't really understand it. And every time I left the set, I thought, thank God that's not me. Sitting on the plane, tears in my eyes, like next to two guys going, oh, sorry. Isn't that? It's the altitude, right? The altitude makes it worse. It's the pressure, the air pressure. And he said, and then shortly after that, I fell off my horse and my whole life changed. He said, I had to experience catastrophic trauma to really appreciate what I had. Which brings me to mental health, right? We don't know what we've got till it's not there. And then in that moment, that isolated, potentially catastrophic moment to somebody, suddenly you think, wow, does anybody else feel like me? Exactly. Yes, thank you, Beck. And Glenn was that person for me in 2019 when I saw him take these pictures in a world where social media was just beautiful, constantly. Beautiful. And I was there trying to be that fitness influencer that's beautiful. Everybody else is doing it. Doesn't feel right. And then Glenn came along and just pulled everything back and went, by the way, it's not all great out there. And I just gravitated to him and this is real. This is real, cutting through something that is so superficial. And we feel like we're going this direction, but it doesn't feel right. But this does. And yet, here I am, how many years later, 6 years later, talking about mental health, something that my parents and my grandparents would never have spoken about. Just would never. It's just not a thing. And yet 3 generations later, I'm standing here so comfortably talking about my mental health experience. It didn't feel healthy. It was affecting me mentally. And I couldn't talk about it until Glenn came along and said, hey, you should talk about it if you want. So I did. And how good does it feel to connect with people that share the same experiences or understand you? So good.